Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Buechler. I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and I am live in San Francisco, or Babylon. We are here. It's a gay pride weekend in San Francisco. So hello, my gays, a collective hey to everybody. Hope you're having a good time. And we are going to recap Preacher, Season 2, Episode 1, On the Road. And I am with my co-host tonight. Down in San Diego, we have Dennis Bithoulkas, and in Los Angeles, we have Chris Ortiz. Guys, what is up?
How's it going, dude? Did you enjoy the episode?
It sucked. It was terrible.
Yeah, nothing really happened. It was like, the first 15 minutes was just boring. There was nothing really going on in it. You know what I mean? Dennis, do you agree?
Well, we were talking about Pretty Little Girls, right? Is that what we were watching?
Yes.
Oh, wait. No.
Podcast is over. No. Seriously.
Shut up. Get offline.
Great episode, following a great first season. We talked a little bit before the show. Maybe there was some inconsistencies. I didn't see them, but hey, you guys are entitled to your opinion. I love the first season. I especially loved Cassidy. He is, I'm sure, everybody's favorite character. I could definitely identify being the pathetic drug-addicted loser who's with a good heart, although I didn't have a good heart. And we have Tulip, who reminds me a lot of my wife. We have Emily from season 1, who scarily reminds me of my ex-wife in looks and demeanor and how she dresses and everything. But and then we have the beloved Dominic Cooper as Jesse Custer, who is just freaking brilliant. Great episode, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I loved it, to put it quite bluntly and everything. I mean, I'm the guy who felt that the first season had a number of inconsistencies, specifically with them, I think, trying to really nail the tone of the comic book, which is hard. That is a hard comic book to adapt. I would argue that it is probably one of the hardest comic books to adapt, primarily because the tone of the comic book can turn on a switch or turn on the right-hand turn and everything. But I think they nailed the tone at the end of season 1, and just, all kidding around aside, they came out with this episode just it's like full steam ahead, just going for it and everything with this one. I mean, just so many balls to the wall moments. I mean, I was actually in shock. I didn't see balls to the wall on this episode at some point in time. Dennis, how did you feel about it?
I didn't like it. No, I'm kidding. I thought it was good. Yeah, the first season I also thought was a little bit uneven, and that was just because I've read the comic before, and I was kind of wondering where they were going with it. It looked kind of like it was meandering, but I agree with you. It's a difficult comic to adapt. So they had to go about this, selling it to AMC and also the audience as well. The audience who hasn't read a comic, about this. So I can see what they went. That's
the rough thing that AMC has to sell. And the hardest part about the tone of this comic is it is all things. It is campy and emotional, and you have sad moments. It's hard to get real and a connection when you're in camp mode. I mean, honestly, it's a lot of Ash versus Evil Dead, and if you guys watch The Leftovers, it's a little of The Leftovers. I mean, there's a lot going on, and the first episode threw me off at the very beginning, where they did that weird 1960s, when Genesis is flying through space. That was jarring for me, but then when I went back and watched it, I freaking loved it. And they kind of did a little bit of that with the Come On Eileen, that they, did like this old film quality to it. The effect wasn't the greatest, but it was cool. I saw what they were trying to do. But I was hard on Seth Rogen in our Nerdrotic podcast. I think Dennis and I both lambasted the fact that he was taken over, especially Preacher has been in development since the comic book came out. And it was going to be a movie. It was going to be an HBO series, and HBO turned it down.
And they considered it too difficult to adapt. Isn't that correct? They found it just too difficult.
Well, and the thing is, AMC, they're selling this. Remember, in season 1, they were selling this to Walking Dead fans. They're like, from the from the network that brought you Walking Dead. I mean, this is so not Walking Dead in any way, shape, or form. But the fact that they pulled this off, and Seth Rogen, kudos to you. I was wrong. I'm sorry. And he co-directed this episode. And it was so fucking well done, and they really have captured the tone of the comic. And I don't know how much Garth Ennis is involved. I know he's an executive producer, but and I know he can, like all great artists, he's kind of the Hemingway of comics, and it can be, you know, just, I don't want to say difficult. He can be very steadfast.
Mercurial, I think is a good word for
yeah, there you go. I mean, he's not Alan Moore or anything. You know, he wants his stuff to get developed, and he likes Hollywood. I met the man once. He was perfectly perfect gentleman. He was in San Francisco, and Brian Hibbs, who bought my comic store, took me out to dinner with them, and he was going. This guy's, like I say, he's Hemingway. He was in San Francisco to do the shark cage thing they do here, where you go into a shark cage and you go hang out with the great whites. So I mean, he's a man's man, you know, and fully Irish, and it was really cool to meet him. So this episode starts out fucking rad. For one, we got Tulip in her awesome car, and we're on a road trip. The town just blew up in a giant ball of shit,
which they don't know about. I think that's an important thing. They don't know about that yet.
You know, and I didn't entirely catch that. I just thought it was like there was so much went on that they missed it, but it's an actual plot point, which is good. And, you know, I just caught that rewatch. I rewatched season 1 right before we started this podcast. I'm going to reread the comics too, because I think it's pretty important, because I think this season they're going to go full comic book. So the violence in the first 10 minutes was beyond good. And we got everything from, you know, singing, God, what was that? The Yellow Rose of Texas. A guy singing the Yellow Rose of Texas, Jesse making cops hold hands, heads exploding, and Tulip having to siphon gas through somebody's intestines. That's how you start a show.
Well, also, I love it how, like, they do a really good job of also, if somebody has not seen the show yet, of kind of reestablishing who the characters are by showing us and not telling us. For instance, you have Cassidy when he's pulled out of the car, you're having them hold the umbrella up, and he keeps telling the officers, I'm going to burn. I will burn. Like, I will catch him. And that was so great how he puts the umbrella down. And he's just like, ah!
I love how the one cop would, like, just totally wrong. You know, what? He said he's going to burn if the sun hits him. And they're like, shut up. You know?
And then he runs away, and the cop was like, well, he was right. He started burning. Like, maybe we should listen to him. But no, I love that. I love the Saint of Killers just coming out of nowhere in just such a badass, like, fully formed, here I am, and you fuckers had better be ready, like, just ready to go. I mean, Dennis, did you kind of get, like, that vibe of, like, when you were first watching the episode of something's going to happen in this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen, like I said, I've read the comic. I knew where that scene was going, and because it's taken directly from the comic. I believe it's actually the first comic.
I think it's the first or second issue. I think you're right. Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
And that's basically the Saint of Killers just comes out and is just killing all the cops that are out there. And they just were minus the helicopter and the SWAT team.
That was probably for budgetary reasons. And, you know, we got a good, you know, but I love that, you know, especially like last season when Tulip, you know, made the bazooka with the kids and took out the helicopter, and we didn't see any of it. I love that. I thought that was rad. You know, you just saw the kids reacting. This time they showed it, and, like, dude, that one cop's top of his head just perfectly exploding, and the Saint of Killer's gun, you know, being like a rocket launcher is rad.
Well, I just love the bullet holes it makes. You just see it go through, like, the fucking cop car, and it's like a freaking M80, like, exploded from the inside out of that thing.
No, and
like
that's
color shells.
Yeah, and that's something they, you know, that's the cool thing about taking some. I still think comics are the perfect art form, but, you know, the visualization of that was just perfect. Also, and then that one guy's head getting rolled over, and the shit coming out of his eyes,
dragging him over so he could stop the car, slow the car down so he could stay underneath it.
So, what was it with Jesse pulling the bullet out of Tulip's car, and he was holding it for a second, and then it burned him?
I think that was that was a Saint of Killer's bullet, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like, was that the idea behind it?
So it's supposed to be because of Genesis is in him. It actually burned him because of Genesis.
Probably because of the demon side of Genesis. That would be my assumption. Is that why it burned? Because there's no, I mean, it actually makes a gray god, but it's perfectly good and perfectly bad, all in one.
Yeah.
Kind of a hard concept to get around your head around sometimes, but
Which is kind of weird.
And I love Tulip not being down with this power. Her morals are so fucked up. I mean, she's like she just decides to pick a few things to be good about.
Well, she'd rather that the officers make their conscious decision of murder or mowing them down or getting into a shootout with them than Jesse essentially saving their life, actually, and saving Cassidy's life, I might add, because they were about to drag him out of that truck, and it would have been game over for him. He would have burned to a crisp in front of them if Jesse didn't do anything. Although I do love it. I'm sorry, Tulip, but I do love it when he tells that one cop to mace his own balls. I was like, yes.
Well, after he was told to keep his mouth shut, so he couldn't even scream.
And you see the guy is just holding it all in. It's so great.
Oh my God. Okay, so and then Tulip has a problem with that. She doesn't, but I guess just violence is honesty to her, and in a way I could kind of see that, but I love how she's portrayed in this. It is pretty, even though the character is younger and looks different than the comic book, it still feels like Tulip to me. So I don't know. What do you guys think? How do you like? I'm forgetting her name now. Why am I forgetting her name? Ruth Negga. Ruth Negga. How do you like her performance as Tulip?
I think it's good. I mean, this is a woman who has been in some actually most recent movie, which I believe is going to be nominated for an Academy Award, is what they keep talking about. And I can't remember what it is now at the moment. But
it's the one with Joel Edgerton, right? Correct. The one where
yeah.
The one where they play the couple who are trying to get their marriage license, but they can't because they're in the South during
correct,
segregation and that type of deal.
Yeah. And I believe it's written by Joel Edgerton as well, if I'm not mistaken, because he's
that guy's excellent.
Yeah. So she's a top-notch actress, and not expecting anything different from what she's giving here. She's giving 110%, doing a good job.
Well, I believe she's Irish, she's English for sure, and her she has a pretty spot-on Texas accent. I mean, you could catch Dominic Cooper's is particularly good, but you can catch when English actors, they tend to over enunciate a little bit, but
she's actually born from Ethiopia.
She's Ethiopian and it's like Scottish or something like that. I forgot it was Irish or Scottish, but she's fucking amazing. And I'm forgetting his name, the guy who plays Cassidy. Cassidy is exactly how I imagined him in the comic. And I always imagine Cassidy as being basically Garth Ennis. And I don't think that's a secret. I think he's actually said that in some interviews that he's Garth Ennis. And the beauty of being a grateful recovering addict, just how he goes about always trying to get some drugs and stuff. It is so freaking real. That's probably in Seth Rogen's wheelhouse. I'm only assuming, Mr. Seth Rogen, that you have a little knowledge about partying. And I just think that's the one thing that feels real. At first, when he's making a request, he's all, first of all, I'd like, when he's talking to, I think it was in season 1, when he's talking to Tulip, he's all, first of all, is there anything? Do you know where to get any black beauties or anything in the opiate family would be appreciated? That's his first question for everything, which I freaking love. But back to this episode, so they escape the violence and the massacre committed by the Santa killers, who is going to walk apparently everywhere, which is really good for Jesse that he's walking. Doesn't decide to drive. Maybe he doesn't know how to drive, or which I would imagine.
Oh God, imagine the Santa killers at a freaking driving school or something like that.
Well, even when he was riding his horse and he was going back and forth to that town to get the medicine for his daughter, his horse was just walking really slow. You ever notice that? His horse was just doot. But I don't think they hauled ass everywhere, or their horses would get tired. I don't know. But so they end up at this convenience store, and Jesse tells the convenience store owner to just basically forget we were there. And then we get to see Cassidy, you know, because Tulip had to siphon the gas through an intestine, so she's trying to get the taste out of her mouth. And they use what, hot sauce and Yahoo.
Yoo-hoo, yeah.
Yoo-hoo, not Yahoo. Yoo-hoo.
He's like, here, use this. It works best.
Trust me. But that's the scene where, and then right after that, that's where Jesse pulls out that bullet and it stings him a little bit. But didn't he during the carnage? Wasn't he asking like what kind of gun is being fired or what's being fired?
Yes, they like Tulip. I think asked him what kind of gun do you think that is, and he's like, "Fuck if I know." Like I've never seen a gun do. Like I've never seen whatever gun it is. I've never seen it do this before.
Yeah, I mean, it's blowing holes in the, right through a car, pretty much.
Yeah, which was great.
Like gigantic holes, and then also being sniper accuracy and taking out people's heads, and also ripping through people's cheeks and not taking any heads off. It's kind of weird. It's doing all kinds of different things.
Dude, there was body parts everywhere.
Yeah,
and that guy was still singing when he hit the ground.
Yeah, when he was dying. Oh, that was messed up. So after the convenience store, and who gets? Oh, this is where the
Jesse eats a cat.
Jesse eats a cat.
No, not Jesse. I'm sorry.
Cassidy
eats a cat. My bad.
Well, he has a fragment of one of the officers' badges in his stomach because it kind of came off and hit him in the stomach, so he didn't realize it. Pulls it out.
So awesome.
And I
fucking loved it.
Yeah, Cassidy gets a lot of unfortunate animals crossing his path.
And you just see this, like, what's weird is I love how, like, that actor nails the look that I think somebody like Cassidy has, where it's just kind of like, I don't want to do this, but I have to do this. Yeah, like, I have to do this. I'm sorry.
So they head over to, and they're going over to Jesse's uncle, Uncle Mike, who I guess is a preacher himself. And he's I guess, Jesse's going to him for a little advice. And apparently he's been, around, and he knows his ancient text. And he gets going there to do a little research. They get to his house, and there is a girl in a cage under a cover, asking for a phone. Is that what she was asking for?
Yes, because she was addicted. You find out she's addicted to Twitter or like Instagram or something else. I think that's the idea behind it. Yeah, the internet.
Yes, and that's and at first I thought it was like, oh, they got to like make him some kind of weird, fucking child molester and stuff. No, he's just a weird preacher, and God knows there are preachers who probably pull shit like this. And
let me also cut in. Should we also discuss the fact of who they decided to get to play the guy, this Uncle Mike, in this episode?
Go ahead, talk about it.
I forget his name, but he's, for those of you who don't know, he is Mr. Authority military figure for pretty much every single goddamn show or movie you have ever seen. And you know the guy that I'm talking about and everything. Like, he was on 24 for a couple of seasons. He was in the Transformers films. And literally every single one of those and stuff, he always plays either a military guy or this calm, cool, and collected person. And I found that they did such a great job of casting him in this, because you're introducing this guy and you're thinking he's going to come out like Buffalo Bill or something with his dick tucked in his pants. And instead, it's just this normal-looking dude who's just kind of like, oh, yeah, she's in the cage. Don't worry about it. Come inside. I'll make you some like coffee or something like that, and we can talk about your problems.
Yeah, if you keep the blanket over her, she makes less noise. She makes less noise in the house.
So nonchalant about it, just kind of like, just another day at the office.
Yeah, because wasn't he in X-Men First Class?
He was in X-Men First Class, and who did he play in that? He played the military guy.
The military guy. Yeah.
Like, seriously, this guy's made a career out of it.
Oh yeah, he's in the casting book for sure.
I'm looking up.
Philip asking, why don't you just chain him to the wall, or why don't
oh god, just like.
And he goes, because the cage with the cover works best.
Don't tell me how to run my church.
Glenn Morshower, that is his name, and he also plays General Lane in Supergirl. That's right. He plays another military guy.
And in real life, he is like super gay, off-Broadway actor. Like, soon as they hit cut, he's all, okay, boys, where are my spritzers? I need some cucumbers for my eyes.
Boys, I have to go to my off-Broadway production of Angels in America.
Dude, that's what, back when I used to listen to Howard Stern back in the 90s, he'd always tell the story that his dad worked for Raymond Burr on Perry Mason. And like, when they hit cut, Raymond Burr was like, hey guys.
Isn't that like George Reeves?
Story.
Isn't that like George Reeves with Superman, where the moment the camera went off, he just turned into this total pervert, like dirty comic guy and stuff in front of everyone?
Well, there was a lot of rumors about George Reeves being like into BDSM and all that stuff, but whatever, to each his own.
His own.
To each his own. So
I guess we should also talk about the fact that they're also establishing that Cassidy has a little bit of a crush on Tulip, as do I, because I don't know about you guys, but I find it incredibly hot when a woman has to wash out brains, blood, and guts from her hair in the car.
I got no problem with that.
Dennis, how do you feel about it?
I don't know if it was so much that he had a crush on her. It was just that she was adorned with, some body parts that he was feeling a little attraction, I think, to.
That's a fair point.
She had on her. I think that's what they were kind of intimating there, was that, it was more what was on her than her herself.
Almost like an aphrodisiac type of thing.
I think it's a combination. I think it is a hot girl with body parts all over, is everything Cassidy likes. There it is, right there. That is the woman for me. So I think you're both right. He is definitely, we are shipping Cassidy and Tulip, and he probably prefers her drenched in blood, which is sick, and I kind of like it. So that's why we got to love Cassidy. And they're foreshadowing this relationship is exactly the same situation they were in before, when they were bank robbers and the guy double-crossed them, because they were happy and he was just simply jealous and he was in love with Tulip. And there we go. So so they don't find out much until the very end, when Jesse's out talking to Uncle Mike, and he talks about, he shows him his power. And then he mentions, wow, there's a woman who came by. She was clean and sober, and I thought she was still clean and sober. She claimed she saw God, so I just assumed she was just back, on drugs and alcohol again. But she was pale as a ghost, and Jesse's all, it can't be that easy, she says she saw God, and you just want me to go drive down there? And then he's all, well, Jesse, nothing's easy, And so they go down to this strip joint called She-She's. And She-She's.
Oh, I've been there all the time. Great place.
And I love Cassidy before he walks in. He's like, oh no, this is going to be the outside is a strip joint, but on the inside it's going to be a bunch of old men smoking pipes, or it just could be a strip joint. I'm going to walk around and ask some questions, okay? And so they go in the room and they find, I forgot the lady's name, the lady who runs the place, the one who saw God.
Patty,
and in the back,
correct?
Patty, in the background screen, you got Cassidy going into a private dance room, paying his $60. Don't ask me how I know how much it costs to get just a little private dance. And he puts some hands on the girl. So while they're interrogating, Patty was her name?
Yes, it's Patty or Tammy. I can't remember which one it is. Unfortunately, all of a sudden it escapes me.
I want a whole season of okay, we have one story going on here, and in the background we have Cassidy fucking shit up. It's so fucking funny. It is so perfect how they did this. And she basically tells the story. She says she saw God. It'll basically make you shit yourself. And then so they want to know why God was there, and they assume it was for a girl. And in the background, Cassidy's all fighting, and then a guy pulls a gun and shoots, and of course it shoots Patty right in the chest through the wall.
That was Doug the bouncer, by the way, that he was fighting. Yes.
Doug the bouncer, yeah, because she kept on calling Doug because Tulip and Jesse were doing that back and forth of should I use the voice? Should I not?
Should not? Yes, exactly. And
just say that I love how they really nailed that screwball comedy aspect of Jesse, of the banter that Jesse, Cassidy, and Tulip have. Where you'll get literally this mile-a-minute dialogue, almost like the way Katharine Hepburn used to be in her romantic comedies from the 30s and 40s. And then out of nowhere, a bullet or a knife or acid or, somebody will be strangled with their own intestine or something like that right into camera and stuff. I mean, this just goes to show that Seth Rogen and I forget his producing partner on this, have really, Evan Goldman, thank you, have really, I think, established and really thought out how to present this show to us. When you get moments like that in this show.
Well, that's where Garth Ennis shines. I mean, his shock value is top notch. He tells bold and crazy and violent stories, but what makes us love him though is his dialogue. They they are so saved. You know, honestly, that Game of Thrones relies heavily on George R.R. Martin, and the one thing that's been missing from the last 2 seasons, I still love them, don't get me wrong, is Tyrion dialogue, because they don't have George R.R. Martin's dialogue to fall back on. They have dialogue to fall back on for 20 seasons in these comics. They could just adapt some of them straight up. I don't know if they can do it budget wise, but I mean, it's comedy gold. And I wish I would have watched the episode twice or 3 times so I could go over just basically everything Cassidy said, because I was fucking laughing my ass off. I'm not going to repeat it. And I can't remember.
My favorite line out of that whole thing, I think, was Mike. When Ashley's in the cage and you can hear her, through the wall. He goes, "Young lady, I have guests. Do you want me to call your parents?" No.
No. What did he say about the internet? He's like, stay off
the internet. It's a terrible place.
It kills your soul or something.
It kills your soul, and he kind of just does like this little eye thing, like her, like almost just like. And I just, like I said, I just love that the actor is just kind of like this, just how nonchalant he is about it, just in that scene of just being like.
He was fucking great. No, the way he delivered that line was fucking so fucking perfect. So the guy could do some comedy, man.
And the whiskey lines 2 times. What was it about?
He's like,
What
does he say? He says something about, he's like, life is a lot of disappointments. That's why we have whiskey.
That's why we have whiskey.
That's why we have whiskey.
Everybody should have that tattooed on their chest. I'll start with my mom. Okay.
Damn, Harry. So about the show.
Back to the show. So Patty dies. Cassidy feels horrible about it. And we also missed when they stayed overnight at Mike's house, and then Cassidy was talking about being the third wheel.
He's also
all
trying
like sitting in that bed.
He's trying to convince him to have sex with
in Ireland.
No, I love that Tulip still wanted to have sex. She totally still wanted to have sex, and like Jesse's all, well, we can't do it. She's all, nope, of course not. And yeah.
I also just love it, like Cassidy. What was the line that he used? He goes, back in the old country when we were in Ireland,
in Ireland, because we used to see
my parents went feral.
They go crazy. They go at it. Yeah,
they were shagging.
Shagging, like the dust would just fall on my face.
So of course we flash to the hotel room where they get back, and there's this really cool scene. It's over the top, but it's still kind of hot, where the Tulip locks herself in the bathroom, says, "Come and get me," and Jesse has to like punch through the door, to get through him. It's like it's very fucking manly, and rah. And he's thrusting away, and they're pounding away, and of course old Cassidy's in the next room, and he's watching a TV show, and we're about to see a magician who is the amazing
Ganesh.
And we all know who he is, right? I mean, they didn't show his face.
They did show his face.
They did? Okay,
Yeah.
Well, I didn't catch that part. It was maybe got cut out because I was watching it on Sling. But it was I don't know how do you pronounce this angel's name? It's Fior.
Fiore or something like that.
Fiore.
Yeah, Fior.
So he's found something to do, which is really good for him because he was so sad after losing his boyfriend in the last episode, or in the last at the end of the season. And then, the Sata killer is hot on Jesse's trail, and he gets to Uncle Mike's house, and Uncle Mike knows who he is.
Yep.
And even pours him a glass of whiskey. And Uncle Mike goes out like a fucking man. And this was a great reveal because he walks in, he's all, "I know who you are," and I love their titles where they're like Hell or the Sata Killers, and you get that music going, and we saw the Sata Killer's name, and then Uncle Mike stabs himself in the heart so he doesn't rat out Jesse. I love Uncle Mike now. He keeps girls in the cage, for Christianity reasons, but all that aside, much respect for Uncle Mike. Went out like a man.
And we also forgot there, the reason why God was coming to the Shishis was not for the girls.
Yeah.
He was coming for the jazz.
Yeah, I was gonna say that to the end, but that we can bring it up now.
You were alluding to it earlier, then we kind of went off track there.
It's okay. No, it's okay because I want to end that is my gripe of the episode because I fucking hate jazz personally. And that's I
don't think you understand.
God being a jazz fan. God being a jazz fan explains a lot. That's all I'm going to say.
I think Seth, you know what, dude? I'm going to call it right now. I think Seth Rogen and sorry, Dennis, what was the other gentleman's name? Evan Goldman?
Evan Goldman, yes.
Evan Goldman. I think they might feel the same exact way you do, actually, judging from what they were talking about.
Well, and how many, I mean, okay, I am dressed like a preacher right now, but I may or may not have been to a lot of strip joints, okay? Very demeaning to women. Those are all somebody's daughter. But I may or may not have been to a lot of strip joints. I have never seen a good jazz band in one. I've seen bands in one, but it's usually like Creedence covers or Guns N' Roses covers or Motley Crue covers or just Motley Crue being basically Motley Crue is played all the time in most strip joints or some hip hop now. But
you went to some fancy places if they had bands.
Dude, I have no, they were fancy, but I have also been to places on Monday where if you could put quarters into the G strings, they would have taken and in Vegas long time ago. Again, that's somebody's daughter out there, so let's think about that. But hey, you got to live a little. And I've never seen a jazz band play at a strip joint, especially one that was. I mean, they were talented, they were good. I mean, at their bad music, but I don't know. How do you guys feel about jazz? Don't all answer at once. I can think of Thank you.
I mean, it's not something I go to, but at the same time, I don't hate it. Not as much as I hate country and western. So,
really, now, okay, you got to clarify here. Do you hate all country and western, or just this new poppy garbage that they put out now?
I hate both kinds, country and western.
Oh, so you don't like Johnny Cash? I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
But
I like old school country, like the Cash, and bluegrass. I'm with Dennis. I cannot get into this country like, well, I came home at night and I had a red cup and I filled it with beer and then I beat my wife, which I feel like most of those songs are about.
I don't like the new stuff, but Hank Williams, and fucking Johnny Cash.
Well, they were real magicians. That's why you like them.
Good shit. Old Loretta Lynn. Yeah,
that's why I think most new jazz sucks. But I like Langston. I like Langston Hughes. I like what is it? Rhapsody in Blue. Like Gershwin, that type of thing. I can listen.
Yeah, if you go old school, okay, I got
old school stuff and everything. Yeah,
is great. That new stuff. The new school just three guys playing fucking their own shit, together.
Yeah,
for 9 hours. Yeah, forget it. No way. People hey, if you disagree, please comment. Let us know. And big surprise. Did you guys know that I just thought it was going to be on Sunday night, but I guess Monday is its regular time. And I found out halfway through the episode that episode 2 is playing tomorrow night.
I didn't know episode 2 was coming on until literally you were telling us about it before we set the podcast started. Yeah.
So I guess we'll be back tomorrow night, which doesn't give this podcast a lot of legs, but whatever.
Well, let me ask you guys something, because it looks like they're gonna. We're talking. I guess we could spend a couple of minutes talking about future. What we think my future episodes might be happening and stuff. Gary, you mentioned that you think the show is going to be going full comic book. At what point in time do you think we're going to be seeing certain characters, specifically and I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen the show yet, but let's just call them other members of Jesse's family. And perhaps another certain antagonist that Jesse is going to have. We'll just think that Jesse considers him a dickhead. I think that's the best way to describe him at this point. I
think, and Dennis, follow with what you think after this. I think we will get it at the end of the season. I think this is mainly going to be the Saint of Killers pursuing him and laying waste to wherever he leaves. And we did in the trailer. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer for the coming season. Without naming any characters, there's a lot of guys who are on the cover of a lot of comics showing up, and CBR even did an article stating that they're going back to the roots on this one. They got probably a little better budget. Apparently, season 1 did very well. So and they're
it did very well. I mean, people are behind it. It's a good show. It's good to have good shows do well, I think. And everything.
For us comic book fans, we'll shoot to you in a second, Dennis. this show is so important, and I think
Yes.
we're not getting a Watchmen if this show doesn't exceed. I'm very disappointed to hear that the boys got kind of put on the back burner again. But I think if we get a successful season 2, it'll be back on the front burner. We are getting happy now. And we're getting closer and closer to getting, and then, honestly, the Punisher is in this wheelhouse. It's a superhero, but it's in this wheelhouse. So as long as these adult, these Vertigo comics, let's say what they are. I mean, and there's endless ones you can do that are really good. This is great for us, for nerds. We are,
Yes,
especially adult nerds. I am so happy because this is the stuff I look forward to the most. I still love my superheroes and everything, but hey, I'm pushing 50, man. So this is the stuff I love.
well, I mean, like, I think everybody, I mean, like, it's good for this stuff to get on the air because it also informs people that, hey guys, shocker, there are other comic books out there other than superhero ones, and they're really fucking good.
Yeah, some of the best. This is where DC Comics is far superior to Marvel, was with their Vertigo brand.
Yep.
What do you think, Dennis?
I think we're also going to get another player coming in here too, network-wise, because Spike TV is no longer going to be Spike TV. It's going to become Paramount.
I don't know if that's good.
I'm with him on that one.
Paramount is a horrible company right now and about to get sold.
Well, Paramount actually was a TV network.
Yeah, UPN.
No, not UPN. They actually had a Paramount network back about I want to say almost 10 years ago, and so it looks like they're trying again. They're coming back.
Well, the United Paramount Network was that's what Star Trek was on, and Buffy. That's what turned into it, morphed into CW eventually.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm nervous about that news, Dennis. Like, that actually makes me a little nervous because
what I'd like to, go on.
I can't talk about, obviously because of where I work and I can't talk too much about this stuff, but Paramount needs to work on their shit. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like they are.
Well, this is owned by NBC Universal, so it's not like it's.
Oh God,
Paramount, and that's the reason why the name change is happening.
Well, I mean, there's 5 companies that own all these stations.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, and pretty soon there's going to be maybe just 3. So, because Sony and Paramount are both either going to get gobbled up, broken up, or just become irrelevant like MGM, which I think Paramount is well on its way. Sony is salvageable, but Sony is basically Columbia, what Columbia was, and that was going by the wayside. So, I mean, I don't want to go down that road. What we're seeing now, AMC has, after a rough start and doing the impossible with The Walking Dead, which is having showrunners leave, multiple showrunners leave a show and it stays consistent. I mean, that's unheard of and will never happen again. That's a miracle of miracles. And their handling of Preacher, that's a go-to network, and AMC was not the one you thought of. I guess Fear the Walking Dead is pretty good now. I haven't watched it, but I'm probably going to start again because if it's good, I want to watch it. And so and then I want to see Warner Brothers flex their muscle a little more, and I think Disney's kind of forcing them to do this because they own HBO, so that's why Watchmen is going to HBO.
Yeah, I was about to say Watchmen. I think is them actually starting to be like, you know what, let's have some fun with our toy box.
Well, dude,
actually, there has been some news that yes, they are actually going to start ramping up their television production stuff.
And I think they're also looking at the. I think they're looking at the stuff that Marvel did on Netflix, and also their CW successes, and going, guys, we could own television with the comic books. We may not be able to own the movies, but we can own television.
They have an easier route than Marvel.
They definitely do.
Some of their stuff's still owned by other people. ABC is really, and Disney is like, Warner Brothers is not afraid to go rated R, and that's where they're like, Marvel will be superior in the PG front, and then what's going to happen is Warner Brothers is going to get superior in the rated R front. And don't be surprised if Sandman gets announced in the next year. That's just, I don't know that American Gods was a success.
I was just about to say, I bet you anything, whoever owned the money for Sandman, whoever has the rights to it, or is the person that could push the button to make it happen, has been watching American Gods very closely this year.
Transmet will not be far behind.
Yes.
And I cannot wait for that.
I'm surprised they haven't even put that one into active development, given the current political climate this country is in right now. It is so relevant.
It's a rights issue right now.
Okay.
So last I heard about Sandman was Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
That was years ago, though, wasn't it?
No, that was only like a year and a half ago.
Okay. Yeah, he dropped out. He's done. He's done with it. I think because Joseph. No, he dropped out. He's done with it. He announced that on his Twitter page and everything. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I think he's producing now.
He's out. He's gone. Like he's gone.
Well, Neil Gaiman owns part of it too. So that's the thing with Vertigo, is you do have some creative ownership there, and with DC, that's the deal they have. So hopefully we'll see more of that. I mean, I know Garth Ennis has definite say on The Preacher, and when Happy comes out, Grant Morrison has a lot of say on that one too. And in our regular podcast, we will go in depth on the Watchmen thing, because where I think it's wonderful news and they can go in so many directions. The guy running it,
hit or miss, very hit and very miss. Yeah, for every hit you get 2 misses with him. That's how I feel about him.
So we will be back. Chris may or may not be back with us tomorrow night. We'll see what happens. But Dennis and I will definitely be back tomorrow night following Preacher episode 2, season 2. You can find all of our videos and podcasts at nerdrotic.com. We have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/nerdrotic podcast. This video is currently live on our YouTube channel, which is the Nerdrotic channel. Forget the URL. Just go on Google, search Nerdrotic channel. Please subscribe and please click that notifications. That really does help out. If you watch and listen, you are eligible for a prize. For Preacher, we're going to do it in the we're going to do it every other episode. We're not going to, due to budgetary constraints, we're going to give a gift card away every other episode. So if you subscribe and comment, you will be eligible for a $20 Amazon gift card. No affiliation with Amazon. It's just me buying you one. And we have prizes with our other podcasts. We do a ton of other podcasts. We just finished up with American Gods. Go back and watch those. I thought they were really fun. We are currently recapping Doctor Who. That's where we have our best prizes. If you can see behind me, there's some Doctor Who figures. I am making what's called the Box of Impossible Things. And what I do is I just pull some figures off my wall and some comics. And it's kind of like a Loot Crate, but better. And if you comment and subscribe on those, you can win a Box of Impossible Things. And we also have a grand prize coming out, and that's going to be next Saturday for the Dr. Falls, the Doctor Who finale. We also have our main podcast, which we've been doing for almost 4 years, called the Nerdrotic Podcast. We are up to episode 102, and that's where we let loose. We're kind of nice on these recaps, but that's where we do the news of the week, and we give unsolicited opinions, and we can be rather harsh, but I think I don't know. Maybe we're very judgmental people and very sad, but hey, we have to talk about it everywhere.
I cry myself to sleep at night.
So, guys, any final thoughts?
Just one quick one to all of our listeners and stuff. Folks, if you got any questions, comments, concerns about like the episodes, or any questions that you might have about the differentiation between the comic book and the television show, feel free to write us on the Nerdrotic website, or even Twitter, or even at our Twitter handles and stuff. I'm sure we'll all be more than happy to answer your questions, as well as answer any comments you have. Even if you disagree with us, we love opinions.
Our Twitter handles are all in the description for this video. So, Dennis, any final words?
Well, we also didn't talk about the way that the episode ended with Jesse actually seeing the Saint of Killers showing up and him using the voice on him, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And we will find out tomorrow night why it doesn't work, because
in the comics it does.
In the comics it does. Yeah. That was a thing. So we will figure out what maybe he has to say it a few other times, because basically it has to work, because if it doesn't work, he's fucking dead and this series is over.
maybe they're fucking with us, Gary. Maybe all the promotional material and everything has just been Seth Rogen going, "Oh, we're just gonna shoot Jesse in the face and that'll be it."
That would be fucked up.
Like, I give them props, but I'd be pissed.
Somebody needs to do that someday, just for the fun of it. All right, Dennis, take us out, man.
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
And may the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Winter is coming.
It is all over you. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, folks.